I'm here with a very good friend. This is Doug Weaver. You guys know him. You know he's a wise man, so we're going to pay close attention to what he has to say today. So Doug did a presentation already this morning about good people, good candidates, high-value employees. So let's look at this from two sides. One, how can a company hold on to their high-value employees?
We did some research. My company, Upstream Group, did a bit of back-of-the-envelope research, and we asked folks who had left their company in the last 2 years or who thought they might be likely to leave their company in the next 6 months. Why did you leave? What were the factors? What could have made you stay?
Yeah.
And interestingly, I think that one of the big fallacies that a lot of sales leaders operate on is that it was all about money. It was all about it was all about stock options. A bigger player came along, threw money at them that we could never answer.
Sure.
And I think they let themselves off the hook with that thinking. And in fact, what we found was that only about 1 in 5 candidates who had left did so because of a better offer, which left 80% of them that were leaving for other reasons. The two big groupings of areas that we isolated were, number one, a lack of belief, and number two, management failure, and I'll break those down. So lack of belief gets to the question of the candidates didn't think that their current company was viable. The value of the company, the longevity, sort of the plan was not laid out for them. They didn't feel like it was in good hands.
And like as far as a leadership issue, that it wasn't being communicated to them, or that it literally didn't exist?
Well, if it's not being communicated, isn't it the same thing?
Touche.
Yeah. So I think that that will get into some of the answers to sort of what we recommended to these sales leaders in terms of hanging on to their people.
Yeah.
But so there was the lack of belief. There was like, hey, I don't think the space I'm in is viable, or I don't think the company's got a plan and can remain viable. So that was a big thing that left them open to the offers that they got.
Wow. And actually, right before you get into the next one, do you think that'll be an increasingly large issue in digital because things are moving so quickly and new companies are coming up and peaking?
Oh. The time span from being like the silver bullet, sort of newest thing, the game changer, to being a commodity is about 6 months now.
Wow.
So I think that what you see these folks who are recruited and sort of brought in based on sort of the vision for the company, and as soon as the reality of the marketplace intervenes and they end up seeing some of the harsh reality and how much competition there is, they plummet. That's going to happen more and more, and in fact I think that those CEOs and sales chiefs who bring people on and assume that because I've got a good person, they're going to be safe and sound and happy for the next several months. Not so much.
Should we just accept it and get people in to launch, these new ideas and let them go, or how do we retain them?
I think you retain them by doing a couple of things. I mentioned sort of the lack of belief, and I think the one thing is having an ongoing conversation with them about viability.
Yeah.
So be a little bit paranoid about the people that you don't want to lose. And continually talk to those people about the viability of the company, the model, solicit their opinion, make them feel that there's a hand on the wheel. The other thing that I think ends up causing people to be open to leave is what we call management failure.
Sure.
And that's the combination of unresolved conflicts or unrealistic goals. And that's where a manager has sort of done a bad job, we think. So the old adage is that people join companies but they leave managers.
Wow.
The answers are the ongoing conversation about viability, and carving out just a certain amount of time to connect with those people about something other than their latest number.
It's amazing that no matter how quickly things change, it really does boil back down to a leadership issue, same as it always has.
We like to think that we're so exceptional and so special, both at the industry level and the company level, and maybe not.
Okay, so let's switch it around. Let's say that we are the high-value employees, because everybody watching these videos, of course, is number one at their company. How do we get what we need and what we want from our company?
The first answer is that you're gonna have to begin that process during the interview. So I talk to people all the time who are thinking about career changes, or they'll call me up because they trust me and they want to know about is this particular company for real and so forth. And I always give them the same advice. I say the interview process is two-way. So if you're not interviewing the people who are interviewing you and finding out, do I really want to work for these people, you're making a mistake. The advice that I give to those sellers is also, don't bet on the business plan, because the business plan is the thing that's going to change.
Yeah.
Instead, look at, number one, the quality of the people.
Yep.
Right? Are they moral? Clearly we have a lot of smart people in this business, but are they moral? Are they wise? Have they had successes or failures in their past that would equip them to sort of do the right thing when the time comes?
Okay.
Right? Bet on the people and bet on the space. Right? Do you feel like the space is one that's going to grow?
Yeah.
So clearly, if you're in social or local or mobile or video, those are all spaces that are going to grow, and so you're going to enjoy some success because of the market expansion.
The quick-changing industry is asking more of everybody. From the leadership side, you can't assume you need to really keep in touch with your people, but from the employee, you need to be doing your research. You need to be investing yourself wisely in the company that you work for.
Yeah, I mean, the days. I think that the days where we can just sort of job surf and sort of take a short-term role here and then job. I think a lot of people are sort of looking at resumes now and seeing that, yeah, this person's had 7 jobs in 10 years, right. And they have to then ask the hard question about them. So I think take the time up front. Don't be in a rush, and don't fall for the voodoo of sort of like the sexy new business model or that kind of thing, because you take your time.
Okay, one more piece of advice from the high-value employee side. Would it be honing your skill set? Would it be having very proactive, that hard communication with your company, saying, I need this additional incentive? What would be the 4th piece of advice?
If you don't have a quality relationship with your immediate manager, nothing is going to get better for you. So you've either got to like have the come to God conversation with your immediate manager and figure that out and sort of make them your advocate, make them your sounding board, or you've got to develop sort of alternate channels within the company to get what you need.
I told you this is a why-on. Okay, one quick question on Solum. You just hosted a panel in the other room. What were the 2 themes that really resonated?
I mean, first of all, it was a monster topic. We had about 40 minutes, and I think all we could do was skim the surface. But two ideas that came out for me. Number one was the idea that there's going to be a social strategy, a mobile strategy, a local strategy, may be up for debate. So instead, we should be thinking like, how do I socialize, mobilize, localize my overall strategy, right? And I think it's a question of thinking of the role there. It led us into a conversation about the real value of Facebook, maybe not so much that it's sort of this big advertising market in and of itself, but how can I use Facebook to amplify the value of a lot of the other things that I'm doing?
Sure.
So it's social, mobile, and local resources as amplifiers, as extenders of our plan, as opposed to sort of discrete plans and silos. Leads me to the next point as well. And I've kind of brought this bias in, and so maybe I'm biasing the answer. But I really feel like our business, both the agency people and the salespeople, are always beholden to budget line items.
Yes.
We always wait for there to be a budget formed. There's a pile of money there. Now we can mobilize. Now we can act on it. And I think that's the wrong way to think about it, because I think instead we should be focused on actually helping clients and agencies really create budgets, right? Solve more business problems. And I think that there's an awful lot more impressionism that is not being addressed that should be.
It's so interesting. I have a theme across all 3 of the topics we talked about. Don't get in your silo mentality. You have to continue to look at the entire picture, and you have to really stay aware and not be lazy.
I think that's absolutely true. I mean, I talk a lot with right brain, left brain thinking, and I'm a big believer in Daniel Pink's philosophy, where he talks about how the right brain is going to be ascendant now, right? So we tend to be very focused on the left brain stuff. We know a ton about technology, and we can talk about targeting and DSPs and carriers and all that stuff. But instead, it's like the person who can actually synthesize this stuff and sort of tie it into the bigger picture, the right brain thinker, is, I think, going to do even better in the future.
Interesting.
We need more of them.
Doug, thank you so much.
Bethany, always a pleasure.